The information provided in this video regarding email marketing platforms, software subscriptions, and business marketing strategies is for educational and entertainment purposes only. The experiences shared represent our internal company case studies and historical trends, not guaranteed outcomes for your specific business. Switching marketing platforms involves inherent operational risks, potential data loss, and fluctuations in deliverability that can directly impact your revenue. We are not providing formal financial, legal, or business advisory services. Any pricing, features, or performance metrics discussed are based on our specific configuration and market conditions at the time of recording. Always conduct your own thorough due diligence, consult with your internal IT or marketing compliance teams, and test software solutions independently before migrating your company data or committing to annual contracts. Every business operates within a unique set of variables, including audience demographics, list health, and industry-specific spam compliance regulations like the CAN-SPAM Act in the United States. Therefore, relying solely on our historical data to make structural business decisions is not recommended without proper independent vetting. Your potential outcomes will vary based on your execution. Imagine waking up on Black Friday, the most critical revenue day of the entire year for a United States-based e-commerce or digital product business. You open your laptop, coffee in hand, ready to hit send on the promotional email campaign you spent 3 weeks meticulously crafting. You log into your wildly expensive, industry-standard email marketing platform. You know the one. Perhaps it has a primate mascot, or maybe it claims to be the active champion of campaigns. Instead of your familiar analytics dashboard, you are greeted by a stark, red banner reading: "Account suspended for compliance review." There is no warning. There is no human being to call. There is just a complete, devastating freeze on the digital asset that generates over 40% of your company's monthly cash flow. You scramble, you panic, and you watch thousands of dollars in potential revenue evaporate by the hour while you wait for an automated support ticket to be processed. That is not a hypothetical scenario designed to scare you. That is exactly what happened to a close colleague of mine, and it sparked a terrifying realization within our own company's marketing department. We looked at our monthly software expense spreadsheet and realized we were paying the equivalent of a luxury car lease payment every single month for an email marketing tool that fundamentally did not care about our business. We were being held hostage by a platform that routinely changed its pricing structure, aggressively punished us financially for successfully growing our subscriber list, and offered customer support that felt like talking to a brick wall programmed in the year 2010. And the broad data backs up this industry-wide frustration. According to recent historical trends analyzing marketing software satisfaction, nearly 60% of small to mid-sized business owners in the United States feel entirely trapped by their current marketing automation providers. They cite relentlessly escalating costs, bloated features they never use, and catastrophic unexplained drops in email deliverability as their primary grievances. You have been told for years by industry experts that the more you pay for a premium email platform, the better your overall results will be. That is a carefully constructed marketing myth, designed to trap you in an ecosystem where the switching costs feel far too high to bear. But what if the platform you currently trust to communicate with your most valuable asset, your email list, is actually suppressing your organic growth? What if the proprietary algorithm deciding whether your newsletter lands in the primary inbox or the dreaded spam folder is heavily weighted against you unless you upgrade to their highest enterprise tier? We decided to challenge the status quo. We risked our entire marketing infrastructure to test a platform that most self-proclaimed marketing gurus completely ignore. We migrated hundreds of thousands of contacts, rebuilt dozens of complex behavioral automation workflows, and completely overhauled our lead generation strategy to transition to Zoho campaigns. The results were nothing short of paradigm shifting, but the journey was fraught with unexpected technical hurdles. By the end of this deep dive masterclass, you will understand exactly why we abandoned the industry darlings, the exact performance metrics that forced our hand, and whether or not our massive operational gamble could be the exact maneuver your business needs to reclaim control of its audience. If you are operating a business in the United States right now, you are facing a perfect storm of operational challenges. Subscription fatigue is at an absolute all-time high, with software companies seemingly raising their monthly prices every single quarter just to pad their corporate profit margins amidst economic shifts. You are likely dealing with the immense pressure to maximize every single dollar of your marketing budget while navigating an increasingly crowded digital landscape where consumer attention spans are shorter than ever before. you desperately need tools that act as a force multiplier for your team, not a heavy anchor dragging down your profit margins and complicating your daily workflow. Today, we are going to meticulously break down the exact problem this software migration solves for you. This will not be a superficial overview of basic features you could easily read on a public pricing page. This is a comprehensive, highly transparent case study detailing exactly how we slashed our email marketing overhead by over 60%, while simultaneously increasing our unique open rates and click-through rates. We are going to deconstruct the specific, aggravating pain points that plague modern digital marketers. We will address the nightmare of managing duplicate contacts that artificially inflate your billing tier, the sheer complexity of building behavioral automations that actually trigger when they are supposed to, and the utter lack of transparent deliverability reporting in mainstream platforms. We will solve the persistent mystery of why your meticulously crafted weekly newsletters are ending up buried in the Gmail Promotions tab, and examine how a structural shift in your sending infrastructure can potentially correct that downward trajectory. You will learn the exact step-by-step evaluation process we use to vet Zoho campaigns against 3 other major, heavily funded competitors, including the specific stress tests we applied to their API limits, integration capabilities with our existing custom customer relationship management software, and the actual responsiveness of their technical support team during a crisis. Furthermore, we will deeply explore the tangible operational impact of consolidating your entire tech stack. We will examine how removing third-party integration tools from the equation by utilizing a native, tightly woven software ecosystem can drastically reduce critical points of failure in your lead capture and nurturing sequences. We will share the raw engagement data, the exact week-by-week timeline of our data migration, the technical mistakes we made along the way that cost us temporary dips in list engagement, and how you can architect your transition to avoid those exact same costly pitfalls. Whether you are a solo entrepreneur trying to effectively monetize a growing newsletter, a marketing director at a mid-sized B2B firm looking to justify your software budget to a skeptical board of directors, or an agency owner managing multiple complex client accounts, this masterclass will provide you with the critical analytical framework you need. You will leave this session with a definitive, evidence-based understanding of whether the Zoho ecosystem is the right structural fit for your long-term business architecture, or if you should maintain your current technological infrastructure. Let us examine the exact breaking point that catalyzed our massive operational shift. Imagine if you are Sarah, a marketing director for a rapidly scaling business-to-business logistics firm based in Chicago, Illinois. It is the middle of the third quarter in the year 2026. Sarah has spent the last 4 years meticulously building her company audience, acquiring leads through expensive pay-per-click campaigns, industry webinars, and highly targeted content marketing. Her database has grown to an impressive 250,000 subscribers. On paper, this is a massive corporate asset. However, when Sarah reviews her departmental budget, she realizes her marketing automation platform is acting as a financial parasite. This is not an isolated incident, but a prevalent scenario documented in numerous recent business case studies, analyzing software-as-a-service expenditures. The primary culprit draining Sarah's budget is a predatory pricing model known as list-based billing, a structural flaw that many legacy marketing platforms still utilize to artificially inflate your monthly invoice. In a standard operational environment, a single customer, let us call him David, might download a white paper, register for an upcoming virtual event, and subscribe to the weekly company newsletter. In a logical database architecture, David exists as one unique contact profile with 3 specific behavioral tags attached to his name. But under the list-based billing model utilized by several major industry players, David is copied and pasted into 3 entirely separate audience lists. The platform then charges Sarah for 3 distinct subscribers, despite David being only one human being with one email address. When you extrapolate that technical redundancy across a database of 250,000 contacts, historical trends show that up to 40% of a company billing tier is entirely composed of phantom duplicate profiles. Sarah is bleeding thousands of dollars every single quarter paying for data bloat that provides absolutely zero return on investment. This was the exact financial hemorrhage our internal accounting team identified during our annual software audit. We were effectively being penalized for running sophisticated, multi-channel marketing campaigns because every new entry point created another duplicate record that pushed us into a more expensive enterprise billing bracket. Beyond the inflated subscriber counts, we must analyze the sheer operational friction caused by a fragmented technological stack. In 2026, Consumer data privacy regulations and browser cookie restrictions have made first-party data collection more critical than ever. You need your customer relationship management software to communicate flawlessly with your email marketing platform. For years, the standard industry solution was to rely on third-party middleware applications to bridge the gap between disconnected software tools. Whenever a sales representative updated a lead status in the CRM, a webhook would trigger, sending a payload of data through a middleman application, which would then instruct the email platform to move that contact into a new automated nurturing sequence. Every single jump between software platforms introduces a critical point of failure. If the middleware experiences a server outage, or if an application programming interface changes its documentation without warning, the entire automation sequence shatters. Leads fall through the cracks, follow-up emails are sent to the wrong segments, and the customer journey is completely compromised. We experienced this exact nightmare scenario during a major product launch. A silent API failure caused a complete disconnect between our payment processor and our onboarding email sequence. Hundreds of new clients were charged, but received absolutely no access credentials or welcome materials. The resulting wave of customer support tickets and refund requests required our team to work around the clock for 3 days straight just to manually reconcile the databases. Relying on an intricate web of digital duct tape to hold your revenue-generating systems together is a massive operational liability. Then we encountered the most opaque and frustrating variable in the entire digital marketing ecosystem, which is inbox deliverability. Historical trends over the past 3 years have shown a massive tightening of sender requirements by major inbox providers to combat spam and phishing attempts. Implementing strict authentication protocols is no longer optional, it is the absolute baseline for survival. Yet, when we analyzed the reporting dashboards of our previous premium email provider, the data was shockingly superficial. We could see top-level open rates and basic click metrics, but we had absolutely zero visibility into the actual inbox placement. We had no way of knowing if our broadcast emails were landing in the primary inbox, being quietly filtered into the promotional tab, or being blocked entirely by corporate firewalls. When our open rates experienced a sudden unexplained 15% drop over a 2-week period, the technical support team at our legacy provider essentially blamed our content. They offered generic advice about subject lines and text-to-image ratios, completely ignoring the structural backend routing issues we suspected were the actual root cause. We realized we were driving blindfolded at highway speeds. We needed a platform that offered granular, domain-level deliverability analytics and a dedicated postmaster infrastructure that actually fought to protect our sender reputation, rather than just pooling us onto shared IP addresses with thousands of lower-quality senders. The compounding weight of these 3 critical failures, the predatory duplicate billing, the fragile third-party integrations, and the complete lack of deliverability transparency, forced us to look outside the echo chamber of heavily marketed software platforms. We needed an ecosystem that was natively built to communicate with itself, a system where the CRM and the marketing automation engine shared the exact same foundational database. This aggressive search for a unified solution inevitably led us to the Zoho software suite. However, recognizing the potential operational benefits of a new platform is only the theoretical first step. The actual process of migrating a massive active subscriber database without triggering a catastrophic drop in sender reputation or losing years of vital behavioral data is an incredibly delicate procedure. It requires a meticulous multi-phase warming protocol that most businesses completely ignore to their own detriment. If you simply export a CSV file from your old provider and blast your entire list from a brand new Zoho account on day 1, you will permanently damage your domain reputation and ensure your campaigns go straight to the spam folder for the next 6 months. The exact technical blueprint we utilize to safely transport our data, the specific IP warming schedule we adhered to, and the surprising way we use Zoho custom functions to clean our list during the transition process are critical components you must understand before making a move. The physical extraction of your historical marketing data from a legacy platform is often the exact moment where the reality of a massive software migration sets in. You are essentially downloading the entire lifeblood of your digital business into a series of massive, unwieldy spreadsheet files. We are not just talking about a simple list of first names and email addresses. We are talking about extracting years of complex behavioral tags, granular purchase histories, specific lead source attribution parameters, and highly personalized custom fields that dictate how your automated sequences operate. When we initiated our export process, we were staring at over 40 distinct data columns that needed to perfectly align with the new structural architecture inside Zoho campaigns. If you misalign a single custom field during the data mapping phase, such as accidentally overriding a customer lifetime value metric with a generic geographic location tag, you can instantly corrupt your entire segmentation strategy. This is where most marketing teams make their first critical error. They view migration as a simple copy and paste exercise, rather than a comprehensive database audit. Imagine if you are Michael, the founder of an emerging direct-to-consumer athletic wear brand based in Austin, Texas. It is the spring of 2026, and Michael is desperately trying to reduce his operational overhead ahead of a major summer product launch. He decides to switch email providers over a single weekend. He exports his entire database of 150,000 contacts, immediately imports the raw file into his new platform, and on Monday morning he sends a massive account-wide broadcast announcing a new line of running shoes. He assumes his previous domain reputation will simply carry over to the new servers. This is a catastrophic misunderstanding of how modern deliverability algorithms function. By blasting an enormous volume of emails from a brand new sender infrastructure without any prior warming protocol, Michael triggers every major spam filter at Google, Yahoo, and Apple. The inbox providers see a massive, unprecedented spike in volume from an unrecognized source IP address, and they immediately classify his campaign as a high-level security threat. Michael's open rates plummet from an average of 25% down to an abysmal 3%. His domain reputation is instantly scorched. He spends the next 6 months bleeding revenue, hiring expensive deliverability consultants, and begging inbox providers to remove his company domain from their global blacklists. This is not an exaggerated cautionary tale. This represents a documented historical trend among businesses that attempt to bypass the mandatory technical requirements of infrastructural migration. To ensure we avoided Michael's disastrous fate, we implemented a rigorous, multi-stage data hygiene protocol before a single email address was ever uploaded into our new Zoho environment. We refused to bring our dead weight with us. Industry case studies consistently demonstrate that migrating unengaged subscribers to a new platform is the fastest way to signal low relevance to internet service providers. We utilized a series of advanced custom functions and data filtering scripts to ruthlessly segment our legacy database. We isolated any subscriber who had not actively opened an email, clicked a link, or made a verified purchase within the preceding 180 days. We did not merely suppress these contacts. We initiated a formal sunsetting process. We sent them one final, highly personalized text-based email from our old platform, asking them clearly and directly if they still wanted to hear from us. If they did not click the confirmation link within 48 hours, they were permanently purged from our primary transition file. We also ran our remaining active list through a third-party email verification service to identify and remove any hidden spam traps, newly invalid addresses, or dormant corporate firewalls that would generate hard bounces. By the time we were ready to import our data into Zoho campaigns, our list size had technically decreased by nearly 18%. However, this was not a loss. It was a strategic purification. We were migrating a highly concentrated, hyper-engaged audience segment that would serve as the foundational bedrock for our new sender reputation. Once the pristine data was safely mapped and imported into the Zoho ecosystem, we initiated our meticulously documented IP warming schedule. In the current landscape of 2026, inbox providers demand absolute cryptographic proof of your identity before they will allow your messages to reach a consumer. Before sending a single test email, we spent 3 days configuring our backend domain name system records. We established strict sender policy framework protocols to authorize Zoho to send emails on our behalf. We implemented complex domain keys, identified mail signatures to ensure our message payloads could not be tampered with in transit. Finally, we deployed a rigorous domain-based message authentication reporting and conformance policy, instructing receiving servers exactly how to handle any unauthorized emails attempting to spoof our brand identity. Only after this invisible technical armor was fully verified did we begin the actual sending process. Our warming schedule was an exercise in extreme patience. On day 1, we did not send a newsletter to our entire list. We built a hyper-specific segment inside Zoho campaigns consisting only of our absolute most engaged brand advocates, specifically individuals who had opened an email within the last 7 days. We sent exactly 500 plain text emails to this group. The content was highly conversational, non-promotional, and designed explicitly to generate organic replies. When inbox providers see users actively replying to a new sender, it sends a massive positive signal to their proprietary algorithms. On day 2, we carefully expanded the volume to 1,000 highly engaged contacts. On day 3, we moved to 2,000, monitoring our bounce rates and spam complaint metrics with obsessive scrutiny. We utilized the detailed deliverability dashboards within Zoho to track our inbox placement across different email clients, watching closely for any artificial throttling from specific internet service providers. Over the course of 21 days, we systematically escalated our daily sending volume, slowly incorporating older segments of our audience while maintaining strict engagement thresholds. This algorithmic appeasement strategy resulted in our new Zoho infrastructure, achieving an average open rate that was actually 12% higher than our historical baseline on the legacy platform. We had successfully navigated the most dangerous technical chasm of the entire migration process. Our data was perfectly structured, our list was ruthlessly clean, and our sender reputation was officially certified as elite by the major inbox providers. We were finally ready to begin leveraging the actual marketing power of the Zoho ecosystem. We gathered our marketing team, opened the automated Journey Builder interface, and set out to recreate our most profitable 14-step behavioral abandoned cart sequence. We anticipated a smooth, intuitive design process. Instead, we collided headfirst with a bizarre structural limitation within the platform user interface, a highly confusing workflow logic issue that immediately paralyzed our entire campaign build and forced us to question if we had just made the most expensive software mistake in our company history. The visual canvas of the Zoho Campaigns Journey Builder initially appeared sleek and modern, a drag-and-drop utopia that promised to streamline our most complex marketing funnels. However, as we began to lay out the foundational nodes for our primary abandoned cart sequence, we hit an architectural brick wall. In our legacy platform, triggering an automation was as simple as applying a dynamic tag to a user profile the moment they left the checkout page. The system was entirely fluid, allowing contacts to seamlessly hop between dozens of active automations based on real-time tag modifications. Zoho Campaigns, we quickly discovered, operates on a fundamentally different, significantly more rigid logic structure. It is heavily reliant on list-based entry points and specific, predefined field updates rather than fluid tagging. When we attempted to recreate our conditional split, a critical junction that routed high-ticket buyers into a premium white-glove follow-up sequence while sending standard buyers a basic discount code, the interface flatly refused to cooperate. The conditional logic required custom field data that the email platform simply could not natively extract from our external e-commerce storefront without a convoluted, fragile application programming interface workaround. Imagine if you are Marcus, the director of e-commerce for a rapidly expanding outdoor apparel brand based in Denver, Colorado. It is late October in the year 2026, and Marcus is racing against the clock to finalize his holiday marketing infrastructure. He migrated his company to Zoho under the promise of unified data, completely unaware of this structural nuance. He builds what he believes is a flawless re-engagement journey on the canvas. He drags the cart abandon trigger, sets a 30-minute delay, and connects it to a promotional email node. But because he did not configure the foundational data mapping between his external storefront and the specific list architecture required by Zoho, the trigger remains permanently dormant. Black Friday arrives, thousands of carts are inevitably abandoned by distracted shoppers, and the automated recovery sequence fires exactly 0 times. Marcus watches tens of thousands of dollars in potential recovered revenue vanish simply because the graphical interface allowed him to build a visual workflow that was entirely disconnected from his actual database reality. This exact scenario represents a massive historical trend of user churn. Businesses migrate, they encounter this steep, unintuitive learning curve, they fail to launch their core sequences, and they retreat to their overpriced legacy platforms within the first 45 days, completely writing off the experiment as a massive financial failure. We spent an excruciating 48 hours trapped in this exact same operational purgatory. Our team was staring at a beautifully mapped visual journey that was functionally brain dead. We scoured the technical documentation, we analyzed case studies of other enterprise migrations, and we engaged in lengthy, frustrating dialogues with the technical support team. The breakthrough did not come from discovering a hidden feature within the email platform itself. The paradigm shift occurred when we finally understood the core philosophy of the Zoho ecosystem. We were fundamentally misusing the tool. We were treating Zoho Campaigns as an isolated, standalone monolithic application because that is how the entire marketing software industry had trained us to operate for the past decade. The reality is that Zoho Campaigns is not designed to be the autonomous brain of your marketing operation. It is designed to be the vocal cords, the actual brain, the central intelligence hub where all of your behavioral logic, tagging, and complex conditional routing is supposed to occur, is Zoho Customer Relationship Management. The moment we stop trying to force the email software to perform complex data calculations and instead routed our e-commerce data directly into the CRM architecture, the entire ecosystem unlocked and the limitations completely vanished. We initiated a native, seamless synchronization between our custom-built web application and Zoho Customer Relationship Management. This was not a fragile third-party integration held together by vulnerable webhooks, but a direct, bidirectional data pipeline built natively into the software suite. When a user abandoned a cart on our website, that behavioral event was instantly logged as a specific module update within their central CRM profile. We then utilized Zoho Flow, the native automation engine that sits above the entire suite of applications, to act as the master traffic controller. The CRM detected the abandoned cart, Zoho Flow instantly recognized the data change, and it securely pushed the contact into the precise entry node of our Zoho campaign's journey. Suddenly, the previously inaccessible conditional splits became fully active. Because the email platform was now reading directly from the enriched CRM database, we could route users based on highly specific criteria, such as their lifetime purchase value, their geographic location down to the specific zip code, or even the specific sales representative assigned to their corporate account. We rebuilt the massive 14-step sequence in less than 3 hours. The latency between a user abandoning a checkout and receiving the first automated recovery email dropped from a sluggish 5 minutes on our legacy platform to virtually instantaneous delivery. We had successfully engineered a marketing automation machine that was faster, smarter, and significantly more stable than anything we had ever utilized before. We confidently flipped the master switch to activate the newly constructed behavioral sequences, and we watched as the first wave of automated emails successfully deployed to our active subscriber base. The relief was palpable as the initial purchase notifications began to ping our internal communication channels, confirming that the revenue recovery engine was functioning flawlessly. We decided to let the system run uninterrupted for a full 7 days to gather a statistically significant baseline of performance data before making any further optimizations. When we finally gathered the marketing team in the boardroom to review the highly anticipated analytics dashboard, we expected to see a steady, predictable curve of engagement mirroring our historical trends. Instead, the data we encountered was mathematically impossible. We were staring at an open rate that had seemingly skyrocketed overnight to an unprecedented, completely illogical 85%. Our click-through rates, however, had remained completely stagnant. It was a massive statistical anomaly that defied all logical benchmarks of email marketing. This bizarre data discrepancy led us down a massive investigative rabbit hole, uncovering a critical flaw in how the platform was interpreting automated security pings, a technical blind spot that could completely destroy your entire split testing methodology and completely artificially inflate your perceived performance metrics if you do not know exactly how to filter it out of your reporting dashboard immediately. Let us dissect the anatomy of a tracking pixel to understand exactly why our data was completely corrupted. When you send an email through any commercial platform, the software embeds a microscopic, invisible 1x1 pixel image at the very bottom of the HTML code. When a human being opens the email, their email client downloads that invisible image from the server, and the platform registers an open. For a decade, this was the gold standard of digital marketing analytics. But historical trends over the last few years, particularly accelerating into the year 2026, have completely shattered this metric. Apple introduced mail privacy protection, and massive corporate firewalls drastically escalated their defensive protocols. Before an email ever reaches a human inbox, these security systems intercept the message. They automatically download every single image, every single link, and every single tracking pixel to scan for malicious code. In doing so, they trigger the tracking pixel. The email platform registers an open, sometimes multiple opens, instantly. The human being has not even looked at their phone yet, but your dashboard is celebrating a massive victory. Imagine if you are David, a senior media buyer for a specialized financial education firm located in Miami, Florida. It is early 2026, and David is managing a list of high-net-worth individuals. He is running a massive split test for an upcoming webinar regarding historical trends in real estate investment. He tests 2 subject lines. Subject line A relies on a conservative educational tone. Subject line B utilizes aggressive curiosity. He sends the test to 10% of his list. Subject line B shows a staggering 70% open rate within 10 minutes. David confidently deploys subject line B to the remaining 90% of his database. However, the webinar registrations completely flatline. Why did this happen? Because subject line B contained trigger words that cause corporate firewalls to aggressively quarantine and scan the email. The firewalls triggered the tracking pixels, creating the illusion of engagement, before ultimately routing the email directly into the spam folder. David based his entire quarterly revenue strategy on phantom data generated by security bots. This is the exact trap we had unknowingly walked into with our newly established Zoho infrastructure. When we saw our open rates artificially inflated to 85%, we realized our entire behavioral tagging system was in immediate danger. We had built complex automated journeys that moved subscribers down different sales funnels based specifically on whether they opened an email. If a bot opened the email, the subscriber would be inappropriately tagged as highly engaged, pushed into aggressive promotional sequences they never actually expressed interest in, and ultimately driven to unsubscribe due to irrelevance. We had to immediately halt our automations and completely re-engineer our analytical framework. We dove deep into the administrative settings of Zoho campaigns. We discovered a critical, somewhat hidden configuration panel dedicated specifically to handling non-human interactions. Unlike our legacy platform, which quietly mixed bot opens with human opens to make our campaign performance look artificially impressive, Zoho provided the surgical tools to separate the data. We implemented strict filtering rules to exclude any open events triggered by known data center IP addresses, automated security scanners, and Apple privacy proxy servers. However, simply filtering the false opens was not enough to guarantee our long-term analytical accuracy. We had to fundamentally shift our entire company psychology away from vanity metrics. We realized that relying on open rates in the modern era is an operational liability. Because we were operating within the unified Zoho ecosystem, we possessed the capability to track far more meaningful, unfakeable engagement metrics. We abandoned the open rate as a key performance indicator completely. Instead, we focused our entire analytical energy on link clicks, direct email replies, and subsequent behavioral actions taken on our website. Through the native integration with Zoho Customer Relationship Management, we configured our dashboards to track the true return on investment of a campaign. We no longer asked how many people opened an email. We asked how many people clicked a link, landed on our sales page, and subsequently had their CRM deal stage automatically updated from prospect to qualified lead. This structural shift in how we measured success was profound. It allowed our marketing team to stop chasing superficial engagement and start optimizing for actual revenue-generating behavior. We spent the next 2 weeks meticulously adjusting our behavioral triggers. We rewrote our automation logic so that a subscriber was only considered engaged if they physically clicked a link within a predetermined time frame. If they did not click, they were routed into re-engagement sequences, regardless of what the open rate metric claimed. We utilized the advanced link tracking parameters within Zoho campaigns to append specific tracking tags to every single uniform resource locator in our emails. This granular data flowed seamlessly back into our CRM analytics, providing us with a crystal clear, uncorrupted view of the customer journey. We could definitively see exactly which educational articles were driving the highest quality leads, which specific product calls to action were generating the most direct revenue, and exactly where our sales pipeline was experiencing friction. By shedding the illusion of the open rate and anchoring our decisions to hard, verifiable CRM data, we increased our actual campaign conversion rate by a documented 22% within the first quarter of implementation. We had conquered the data corruption crisis. Our list was pristine, our automations were highly logical, and our performance metrics were finally anchored in absolute reality. We had spent weeks painstakingly building this flawless internal marketing engine. The team was highly motivated. The executives were thrilled with the projected cost savings, and we were finally ready to unleash the full power of our new infrastructure. We scheduled our first massive company-wide broadcast, a highly anticipated announcement for our flagship annual virtual summit. We confidently finalized the campaign draft, initiated the sending sequence, and walked away from our desks to celebrate a successful migration. However, that celebration was cut violently short. Less than an hour later, our primary administrator dashboard lit up with a terrifying bright red systemic alert. Our entire account had been abruptly frozen, our campaigns were entirely halted mid-send, and we were immediately placed under a mandatory, aggressive compliance investigation by the Zoho internal security team, an automated corporate guillotine that threatened to completely derail our most profitable quarter of the year and permanently terminate our account before we even truly began. The sheer panic of staring at a suspended account dashboard during a major revenue event is an experience that fundamentally alters your perspective on corporate digital infrastructure. We had executed every single phase of our data hygiene protocol flawlessly, we had strictly adhered to our systematic volume warming schedule, and we had verified our domain authentication records. Yet, the automated compliance systems at Zoho still triggered a catastrophic halt. To understand exactly why this happened, you must understand the fundamental difference in risk tolerance between a legacy marketing platform and a highly regulated ecosystem like Zoho. Most mainstream email service providers operate on a business model of acceptable collateral damage. They understand that a certain percentage of their user base will upload purchase lists, scrape data from social media profiles, and send unsolicited spam. These legacy platforms mitigate their own risk by pooling thousands of these low-quality senders onto massive, shared internet protocol addresses. They essentially allow the bad actors to dilute the sender reputation of the legitimate businesses. Zoho operates under a completely different, aggressively strict philosophy regarding network health. They view their proprietary sending infrastructure as a heavily guarded fortress, and their automated compliance algorithms are notoriously sensitive to any sudden anomalies in sending behavior, prioritizing the protection of their server reputation above the convenience of any single customer. Imagine if you are Emily, the director of communications for a rapidly expanding commercial real estate brokerage based in Columbus, Ohio. It is the spring of 2026. Emily has been tasked with aggressively expanding the firm footprint into new regional markets. Under immense pressure from her executive board, she makes a desperate operational decision. She purchases a massive third-party database of 50,000 alleged high-net-worth investors and imports this unverified data directly into her newly provisioned Zoho Campaigns account. Without any prior sending history on the platform, she immediately queues up a massive promotional broadcast containing heavy image files and aggressive sales copy. Within 4 minutes of initiating the send, the Zoho automated monitoring systems detect a massive spike in hard bounces, indicating invalid addresses, and an immediate flurry of spam complaints from major internet service providers. The platform does not issue a polite warning. It instantly permanently bans her entire corporate domain from the Zoho ecosystem. Emily loses access to her software, her sender reputation is globally blacklisted, and her entire digital marketing infrastructure is reduced to ashes simply because she attempted to bypass the mandatory compliance protocols. This represents a massive historical trend of corporate marketing failures where aggressive acquisition tactics collide with modern data privacy enforcement. Our situation was entirely different from Emily, but the automated algorithm could not distinguish our legitimate volume spike from a malicious spam attack in real time. We had scheduled a broadcast to our entire, fully warmed audience segment to announce our virtual summit. Because our list was highly engaged, thousands of people attempted to open the email and click the registration link within the first 5 minutes of deployment. The Zoho monitoring systems flagged this sudden massive surge in simultaneous outbound server requests and rapid inbound engagement tracking as highly suspicious, anomalous behavior. The algorithm essentially assumed our account had been compromised by a malicious third party, attempting to utilize our domain to launch a high-velocity phishing attack. The corporate guillotine fell, freezing our account pending a mandatory manual review by their internal anti-spam compliance team. We were instantly thrust into a high-stakes, highly stressful digital audit. The Zoho compliance officers demanded immediate, undeniable cryptographic proof that every single contact on our list had explicitly opted into receiving promotional communications from our specific corporate entity. If we were still operating on our fragmented legacy platform, gathering this specific forensic data would have taken days of manually cross-referencing disconnected spreadsheets and hunting down ancient landing page configurations. However, because we had meticulously integrated Zoho Campaigns with our central customer relationship management database, we possessed an absolute tactical advantage. We generated a comprehensive compliance dossier within 30 minutes. We extracted detailed audit logs showing the exact date, time, and specific originating Internet Protocol address for every single subscriber on the active broadcast list. We provided the exact uniform resource locators of the active web forms where the data was originally collected. Furthermore, we exported a granular behavioral timeline demonstrating a consistent, documented history of positive engagement, including previous email opens, link clicks, and verifiable e-commerce transactions associated with those specific contact records. We submitted this undeniable mountain of evidence to the compliance team, holding our collective breath as thousands of dollars in potential registration revenue hung in the balance. The internal review process was agonizingly thorough, highlighting the sheer rigor of their platform security protocols. After a tense 3-hour waiting period, we received a formal communication from a senior compliance officer. They acknowledged the validity of our opt-in methodologies, verified the integrity of our data collection practices, and immediately lifted the account suspension. Our campaign resumed deployment, and our virtual summit went on to become the most profitable digital event in our company history. While this temporary suspension was an incredibly stressful operational hurdle, it forced a massive paradigm shift in how our executive team viewed the Zoho ecosystem. We realized that this aggressive, uncompromising stance on anti-spam compliance is actually the single greatest competitive advantage the platform offers. Because Zoho is so incredibly ruthless about terminating bad actors and policing their internal network, their shared sending server protocol addresses maintain an elite, globally recognized reputation among major inbox providers like Google and Microsoft. When you utilize a platform that actively fights to keep spammers off its network, you are inherently protected by that immaculate reputation. Historical data trends within our own company analytics over the subsequent 6 months demonstrated a massive, sustained 30% increase in our baseline primary inbox placement compared to our previous legacy provider. We were no longer sharing digital real estate with marketers who were degrading the neighborhood. We had survived the ultimate stress test and proven our operational legitimacy. With our infrastructure fully validated and our deliverability rates soaring to unprecedented historical highs, we felt completely invincible. We directed our creative department to begin transitioning all of our legacy marketing collateral into the new platform. We wanted to leverage the highly touted, visually complex drag-and-drop design interface to build visually stunning, highly interactive product showcases. We spent over 2 weeks designing incredibly intricate hypertext markup language templates, filled with embedded videos, dynamic countdown timers, and heavily optimized graphic assets. We deployed these visual masterpieces to our fully warmed, highly engaged subscriber list, expecting to see a massive surge in our click-through rates. Instead, the resulting engagement data was so catastrophically poor that it completely invalidated our entire creative strategy. We discovered a brutal, highly guarded technical secret regarding how modern inbox algorithms actually process complex visual code, a structural revelation that forced us to completely abandon beautiful design in favor of a profoundly counterintuitive approach to generating revenue. The fundamental misunderstanding of modern email deliverability stems from treating the consumer inbox like a digital billboard rather than a personal communication channel. When our creative team deployed those highly visual, complex hypertext markup language templates, they were unknowingly attaching massive algorithmic anchors to every single outbound message. In the year 2026, major inbox providers do not merely scan your subject line to determine relevancy. They meticulously parse the underlying architectural code of your entire email payload. Every single embedded image, every stylized cascading style sheet tag, every dynamic countdown timer, and every structural formatting table significantly increases the overall file size and drastically alters the code-to-text ratio. When an algorithmic filter detects an email heavily weighted with commercial formatting and complex visual styling, it instantly categorizes that message as promotional material. It absolutely does not matter how valuable your specific offer is, or how cleanly your data was scrubbed. The algorithm intercepts the email at the server level and silently diverts it away from the highly coveted primary inbox, burying it deep within the promotional tab where consumer attention spans are practically non-existent and historical trends show engagement rates completely flatline. Imagine if you are Jessica, the founder of a boutique luxury skincare brand based in Seattle, Washington. It is the peak holiday shopping season in 2026, and Jessica desperately wants her brand to exude premium quality and establish immense market authority. She allocates a massive portion of her quarterly budget to hire an expensive, highly touted external design agency to craft a visually stunning weekly newsletter series. The resulting emails feature high-resolution product photography, interactive image carousels, beautifully integrated typography, and perfectly branded color palettes. From a purely aesthetic and artistic standpoint, it is an absolute masterpiece of digital design. However, when Jessica logs into her analytics dashboard 3 weeks later, she realizes her overall click-through rate has plummeted by over 40% compared to the previous quarter when she was sending basic updates. Jessica immediately assumes her audience is experiencing severe offer fatigue, or that her pricing model is suddenly fundamentally flawed. The objective reality, supported by numerous exhaustive industry case studies analyzing modern inbox behavior, is that her audience never even saw the heavily designed emails. The sheer density of the hypertext markup language code triggered the promotional filters across all major internet service providers simultaneously. Jessica was effectively paying a premium design agency thousands of dollars to actively sabotage her own deliverability infrastructure and suffocate her primary revenue stream. We were experiencing the exact same operational disaster internally. Our beautifully crafted product showcases were being categorically rejected by the primary inbox algorithms. We were forced to organize an incredibly difficult, highly contentious meeting with our internal creative department. We had to explain that their meticulously designed visual assets, which took hundreds of man-hours to produce, were actually actively harming the business infrastructure. We made the radical, highly controversial executive decision to completely abandon the advanced drag-and-drop journey builder inside Zoho campaigns. We immediately stopped using heavy image blocks. We ceased utilizing heavily branded corporate headers. We removed all stylized, hyperlinked call-to-action buttons. Instead, we reverted our entire outbound strategy to the most primitive, functionally basic tool available within the platform interface, the standard plain text editor. Our new operational strategy was deeply rooted in radical authenticity and psychological alignment with the modern consumer. When you receive an incredibly important email from a close friend, a family member, or a trusted business colleague, it absolutely does not arrive wrapped in a heavy, highly stylized corporate template. It arrives as simple, unformatted, direct text. We hypothesized that by intentionally mirroring this highly personal, peer-to-peer communication style, we could successfully bypass the aggressive promotional filters and directly access the primary inbox environment. We instructed our internal copywriting team to completely overhaul their tone, crafting messages that felt like highly specific one-to-one correspondence rather than generalized corporate broadcasts. We heavily utilized the dynamic merge tags natively built into Zoho campaigns to pull the specific first name of the subscriber directly from our customer relationship management database, placing it naturally within the very first conversational sentence of the email. We completely replaced our massive graphic call-to-action buttons with simple, raw uniform resource locator links seamlessly embedded within the natural flow of the conversational text paragraphs. The potential outcomes of this massive structural shift were initially met with extreme skepticism by our executive board, who deeply feared we were permanently damaging our established brand identity and looking highly unprofessional. However, the concrete historical trends generated by our internal testing data over the subsequent 30-day observation period completely silenced all internal opposition. By aggressively stripping away the bloated architectural code and sending structurally raw, text-based emails, our primary inbox placement rate skyrocketed almost instantly. Our outbound messages were no longer being flagged and intercepted by the complex promotional tab algorithms. They were successfully landing directly next to highly personal emails from friends and family members. Consequently, our unique open rate stabilized at highly predictable, strictly human-driven levels, completely free from the aggressive bot-inflated vanity metrics we had previously battled during our initial testing phases. More importantly, our actual click-through rates experienced a massive sustained resurgence. Subscribers were actually spending time reading the conversational copy, mentally engaging with the narrative structure, and clicking the raw text links at a rate that was nearly double our previous highly visual, incredibly expensive campaigns. This specific technical pivot provided a profound operational lesson regarding the modern digital marketing landscape. We realized through concrete data that highly produced corporate polish often acts as a massive psychological barrier to authentic consumer connection. Consumers operating in 2026 are heavily insulated against traditional corporate advertising mechanisms. They subconsciously tune out and actively ignore anything that remotely resembles a digital flyer or a mass promotional blast. By leveraging the native, unstyled simplicity of the Zoho plain text editor, we successfully repositioned our brand identity as a trusted, highly accessible advisor rather than a desperate, high-volume merchant. We were actively generating significantly more direct revenue by sending emails that authentically looked like they took exactly 5 minutes to write on a mobile device, completely invalidating the tens of thousands of dollars we had previously allocated toward complex template design and visual optimization. We had successfully hacked the primary inbox architecture and established a highly profitable, strictly text-based communication channel that was driving massive engagement. Our core audience was highly responsive, and our lead pipeline was overflowing with qualified active prospects. However, this massive influx of human engagement introduced an entirely new, deeply complex operational bottleneck that threatened to overwhelm our entire sales infrastructure. Because our automated emails now felt incredibly personal and specifically tailored, our subscribers began physically replying to them at an unprecedented, entirely unmanageable volume. They were asking highly specific technical questions about our services, requesting tailored strategic advice based on their unique business models, and treating the automated marketing broadcasts as direct, open lines of communication to our senior sales team. We quickly realized that a simple plain text strategy was utterly unscalable if we could not dynamically adjust the core content based on the individual behavioral history of the specific person reading it. We desperately needed a robust technological method to inject highly specific, deeply personalized data points into these plain text emails without relying on constant manual intervention from our team. This aggressive search for automated hyper-personalization led us to uncover a deeply hidden, notoriously poorly documented feature buried deep within the Zoho advanced templating language, a highly complex coding syntax that completely revolutionized our customer relationship management synchronization and almost caused our entire database architecture to permanently collapse during the initial deployment phase. The syntax we uncovered is a highly advanced, remarkably intricate conditional logic framework natively built into the back-end of Zoho campaigns, heavily influenced by their proprietary scripting language known as Deluge. To the average digital marketer, personalization historically means simply inserting a rudimentary first name tag at the very beginning of a generic greeting. By the year 2026, the American consumer has developed absolute psychological blindness to this elementary tactic. They know exactly what an automated merge tag looks like, they understand how basic database fields operate, and seeing their name bracketed at the top of a commercial broadcast no longer generates any sense of authentic human connection. We realized that if we were going to successfully maintain our highly profitable plain text email strategy, we needed the text itself to dynamically rewrite its own internal paragraphs based on the specific, real-time behavioral data residing in that individual user profile within our central customer relationship management software. We needed the absolute capability to deploy a single broadcast to 100,000 people, but have the system systematically generate 100,000 entirely unique emails, changing the specific product recommendations, altering the geographic references, and fundamentally modifying the entire call to action based on their documented historical purchase velocity and current deal stage. Imagine if you are Robert, the Chief Operating Officer of a rapidly scaling industrial supply distributor headquartered in Dallas, Texas. It is the middle of the third quarter in 2026, and Robert is struggling immensely to mobilize his massive database of dormant legacy clients. He attempts to use standard personalization, sending a massive plain text campaign that reads, "Hello John, are you still interested in purchasing industrial supplies this quarter?" It feels incredibly robotic, highly insincere, and generates virtually zero positive sales replies. Now imagine if Robert utilizes advanced conditional logic embedded directly within his email architecture. The system actively analyzes John's CRM profile, recognizes he previously purchased heavy manufacturing machinery in 2024, identifies that his dedicated internal sales representative is named Sarah, and sees his primary corporate office is located in Houston. The automated plain text email dynamically structures itself to read, "Hello John, I was reviewing your account with Sarah this morning, and noticed it has been nearly 2 years since we upgraded the heavy machinery at your Houston facility. Are you open to a brief strategic review this Thursday?" That level of extreme, hyper-relevant context is exactly what the Zoho advanced templating language promised to deliver, but harnessing that immense operational power required a level of strict technical precision we completely underestimated during our initial build phase. Our catastrophic error occurred because we treated this advanced conditional logic like a standard, lightweight dynamic variable. We confidently drafted a massive, highly complex plain text email template containing over 15 distinct conditional, if and else statements. We were simultaneously pulling the subscriber's current sales pipeline deal stage, their total calculated lifetime financial value, their last verified login date to our secure client portal, and the specific first and last name of their assigned account manager. We mapped all of these complex data points directly from the live Zoho Customer Relationship Management server into the Zoho Campaigns broadcast template. What we failed to understand was the immense computational weight of this specific architectural configuration. We were not simply sending a standard marketing email. We were commanding the email platform to execute a highly complex, multi-layered database query against the CRM for every single individual recipient at the exact moment of deployment. When we confidently initiated the live broadcast to our newly engaged, highly active list of 75,000 subscribers, we essentially launched a massive unintentional distributed denial of service attack against our own internal corporate infrastructure. Within exactly 45 seconds of clicking the deployment button, our entire centralized database architecture began to fundamentally buckle under the immense computational pressure. The email server attempted to simultaneously open 75,000 distinct application programming interface connections to the CRM to verify and calculate the conditional logic variables in real time. The Zoho CRM environment, strictly prioritizing data integrity and global server security, instantly recognized this massive, unprecedented surge in simultaneous inbound queries as a catastrophic system threat. It immediately triggered its internal self-preservation protocols and aggressively throttled our active data connection. This resulted in a terrifying operational gridlock across our entire company. Our sales team abruptly lost all access to their live performance dashboards, our customer support ticketing system completely froze mid-session, and our automated lead routing workflows were instantly paralyzed. Even more devastating because the primary data connection was violently severed mid-deployment, thousands of our highly anticipated, hyper-personalized plain text emails were suddenly being dispatched into the public sphere with entirely broken code blocks completely visible to the end user. Instead of a warm, highly customized corporate greeting, our most valuable enterprise clients were receiving incomprehensible strings of raw back-end logic and unpopulated bracket tags, completely exposing our automated infrastructure and thoroughly destroying the careful illusion of personalized, one-to-one human communication we had worked so incredibly hard to build. We immediately engaged our emergency technical protocols, rapidly utilizing the master kill switch within Zoho Campaigns to abruptly halt the outbound server queue. But the reputational damage to our internal workflow was already severe. We spent the next 12 uninterrupted hours conducting a massive internal post-mortem analysis alongside our senior database engineers. We discovered that the underlying issue was absolutely not a structural flaw in the Zoho software environment, but a fundamental, arrogant misunderstanding of data synchronization architecture on our part. We were demanding real-time data rendering for a massive volume broadcast, which historical case studies consistently prove is an inherently unstable engineering practice for any platform. To achieve the absolute pinnacle of hyper-personalization without actively crashing our entire corporate network, we had to fundamentally reverse our data flow strategy. We had to immediately stop asking the email template to pull the heavy data at the exact moment of sending, and instead aggressively program the CRM to proactively push the customized data into static fields long before the campaign was ever scheduled to launch. This crucial realization forced us to heavily integrate Zoho Flow, the immensely powerful automation platform that seamlessly connects the entire Zoho application suite. We engineered an incredibly sophisticated, automated nightly synchronization routine. Every single night at exactly 2 in the morning, when our server traffic was at its absolute lowest historical point, Zoho Flow would meticulously scan our entire active customer relationship management database. It would methodically evaluate all the complex behavioral logic, definitively determine exactly which personalized paragraph each subscriber should receive in the upcoming weekly broadcast, and then quietly write that specific fully rendered paragraph of text directly into a hidden, static custom field located within their Zoho Campaigns profile. By the time our marketing department arrived at the office to initiate the broadcast, the intense computational heavy lifting was already entirely completed. The email template no longer needed to execute complex algorithmic calculations or dynamically query the live CRM. It simply referenced the pre-populated static custom field, allowing the outbound servers to deploy 75,000 hyper-personalized emails with absolute structural stability, lightning-fast delivery speeds, and absolutely zero application programming interface strain. The operational results of this pre-rendered personalization strategy were nothing short of transformative for our revenue pipeline. By consistently delivering highly contextual, deeply relevant plain text emails that accurately reference specific account history and localized geographic data, our positive direct reply rate exploded beyond all previous historical benchmarks. We were no longer passively relying on generic link clicks to gauge interest. We were actively generating high-intent human conversations at massive scale. Our sales representatives were suddenly inundated with perfectly primed prospects who explicitly believed they were responding directly to a manual, handcrafted email from an internal account manager. We had successfully automated the absolute most difficult aspect of outbound relationship building, creating a highly predictable revenue generation machine that required virtually zero daily technical maintenance. However, as we aggressively scaled this newfound conversational volume, we remained blissfully unaware of a massive, heavily regulated operational blind spot we had entirely overlooked during our initial platform migration. As our unified database rapidly captured and permanently logged thousands of highly sensitive, deeply personal user replies every single week, we were unwittingly steering our entire corporate entity directly into the path of a catastrophic legal vulnerability regarding the incredibly strict, newly finalized 2026 federal data privacy and retention mandates, a highly complex web of compliance regulations that our previous legacy software had completely insulated us from, but which the inherently transparent nature of the Zoho ecosystem was now exposing to extreme regulatory scrutiny. The transition into the reality of 2026 data privacy is an operational hurdle that most digital marketers completely underestimate until they are facing massive federal penalties. The newly enacted federal data privacy regulations require absolute transparency and immediate responsiveness regarding consumer data. If a subscriber replies to an automated email with sensitive financial context or personal health information, that data is permanently logged. Under the new federal mandates, consumers possess the absolute right to request a complete, comprehensive audit of every single data point your company holds on them, and they maintain the right to demand complete systemic erasure within a strict 48-hour compliance window. In our previous legacy software ecosystem, our data was severely fragmented across a dozen different applications. An email reply would be stored in our marketing platform, a third-party automation tool would scrape that text and push it into our standalone customer relationship management software. Another integration would copy it into our customer support ticketing system, and a final webhook would blast a notification containing the sensitive text directly into our internal company communication channels. We had inadvertently built a massive interconnected liability machine where completely sanitizing a single user footprint was virtually impossible. Imagine if you are William, the managing partner of an independent wealth management firm located in Boston, Massachusetts. It is the fourth quarter of the year 2026, and William has heavily relied on a highly fragmented technology stack to manage his rapidly growing client base. One morning, a highly demanding former client formally invokes their federal right to total data erasure. William assigns his top operations manager to execute the request. The manager spends 3 agonizing days manually logging into the email marketing provider, the standalone database, the external billing software, and the separate help desk portal to painstakingly delete the client profile from every isolated system. They believe they have successfully complied with the federal mandate. However, 6 months later, William receives a devastating notice of a compliance violation and a massive financial penalty. The operations manager had completely forgotten to delete the client records from a hidden, legacy list within their email marketing platform, and an automated re-engagement campaign had accidentally triggered, sending an email to a person who legally did not exist within their primary database. This is a terrifying, highly prevalent historical trend among modern businesses that attempt to manage strict regulatory compliance across disconnected third-party software applications. This exact operational terror is what forced us to deeply analyze the back-end architecture of the Zoho ecosystem, and we discovered that their unified database structure is the ultimate defense mechanism against modern regulatory scrutiny. Because Zoho Campaigns is not merely integrated with Zoho Customer Relationship Management, but actually shares the exact same foundational database infrastructure, the concept of data fragmentation completely ceases to exist. When a subscriber interacts with our marketing material, updates their preferences, or sends a highly sensitive direct reply, that data is not being recklessly duplicated and bounced across fragile third-party servers. It is securely written into a single highly encrypted, centralized profile. When we received our very first formal data deletion request under the new 2026 federal guidelines, our internal compliance team braced for a massive multi-day operational headache. Instead, the entire process was executed with absolute surgical precision in less than 3 minutes. We utilized the native data privacy compliance module, located directly within the central Zoho administrator panel. We simply entered the email address of the requesting consumer. The system instantly ran a comprehensive cross-platform diagnostic sweep of our entire corporate infrastructure. Within seconds, it generated a unified report detailing exactly where that specific user data existed across Zoho Campaigns, Zoho Desk, Zoho Sales IQ, and the primary customer relationship management database. With a single, highly secure administrative authorization, we initiated a global erasure protocol. The Zoho infrastructure systematically and permanently purged the consumer data from every single connected application simultaneously. Furthermore, the system automatically generated an immutable, highly secure cryptographic audit log proving that the deletion protocol was successfully executed on a specific date and time, providing our legal department with the exact defensive documentation required to satisfy federal regulators without actually storing the restricted personal data itself. Beyond the immediate capability of rapid data erasure, we had to drastically reconfigure our long-term data retention policies to align with the new federal expectations. Historical trends in digital marketing encouraged businesses to hoard consumer data indefinitely, maintaining massive lists of inactive subscribers under the false assumption that they might eventually re-engage. In 2026, hoarding dormant data is an immense, entirely unnecessary legal liability. By consolidating our operations into the native Zoho environment, we had successfully closed every single regulatory vulnerability. We had eliminated the fragile third-party data transfers that previously exposed us to extreme legal risk. Our client data was securely encrypted at rest, our automated personalization was driving unprecedented historical engagement rates, and our deliverability metrics were absolutely thriving because we were strictly adhering to the highest standards of sender reputation management. We had successfully architected a highly profitable, legally bulletproof marketing engine. But all of these immense operational victories were purely theoretical until we laid them bare on our executive financial spreadsheet. The ultimate measure of any massive software migration is the direct impact on the corporate bottom line. We spent hours meticulously comparing the total cost of ownership of our bloated legacy technology stack against the unified Zoho ecosystem. We analyzed the subscription fees, the eliminated third-party middleware costs, and the drastic reduction in billable technical support hours. The final mathematical verdict was so profoundly shocking that it completely redefined our entire corporate budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Yet, amidst this massive financial triumph, we uncovered one highly specific, deeply ingrained architectural limitation within the Zoho platform. It is a fundamental structural reality that makes this software suite an absolute operational death trap for one very specific, highly popular modern business model. A massive functional deal breaker that you absolutely must understand before you even consider migrating your primary database. To completely understand this structural limitation, we must first examine the actual financial mathematics that led us to this final verdict, because the sheer scale of the capital we recovered is the only reason we tolerated the immense technical friction of the migration process. When our chief financial officer finalized the quarterly software audit, the numbers were staggering. In our previous fragmented technology stack, we were paying our primary legacy email provider roughly $2,400 every single month just to warehouse our 200,000 contacts, a massive portion of which were those predatory duplicate profiles we discussed earlier. Furthermore, we were paying an external customer relationship management platform another $1,800 a month for our sales team licenses. We were paying an additional $400 a month for a third-party automation tool, just to act as a fragile digital bridge between those two disconnected systems, and we were spending another $600 a month on a standalone customer support ticketing system. We were bleeding over $5,000 a month, or roughly $60,000 a year, simply to maintain a basic operational baseline. When we completely stripped away that bloated infrastructure and migrated our entire company into the unified Zoho ecosystem, utilizing their comprehensive enterprise licensing model, our total monthly software expenditure plummeted to just under $800. We effectively eliminated over 80% of our technological overhead overnight, injecting tens of thousands of dollars in pure recovered profit directly back into our advertising budget. This represents a massive historical trend among modern businesses that choose to consolidate their software architecture. However, this incredible financial efficiency comes with a highly specific structural catch that makes the Zoho ecosystem an absolute operational death trap for anyone utilizing a high-volume, cold traffic affiliate marketing business model. Imagine if you are Alex, an aggressive digital affiliate marketer operating out of Las Vegas, Nevada in the year 2026. Alex does not own his own products, he does not maintain a dedicated sales team, and he does not care about building long-term, multi-year relationships with his audience. His entire business model relies on purchasing large volumes of solo ad traffic, aggressively capturing email addresses, and rapidly blasting his list with daily promotional emails containing complex, third-party redirect links to external affiliate networks. In a legacy email marketing platform, Alex might be able to survive for a few months before his deliverability slowly degrades. But if Alex attempts to migrate this specific operational model into Zoho campaigns, his business will be systematically dismantled by the platform's security algorithms within the first 48 hours. The core reason for this incompatibility lies in how Zoho structurally analyzes and enforces domain alignment. Because Zoho operates as a highly secure, heavily regulated customer relationship management ecosystem, their automated compliance bots are meticulously programmed to hunt down and permanently quarantine any outbound email where the verified sending domain does not strictly match the final destination uniform resource locator of the embedded links. When Alex sends an email from his primary domain, but the call to action button contains a masked affiliate tracking link that violently redirects the user through 3 different third-party tracking servers before finally landing on an external sales page, the Zoho security infrastructure instantly flags this behavior as a critical phishing threat. The algorithm assumes that the sender is actively attempting to deceive the consumer about the true destination of the link. Zoho will instantly suspend the campaign, freeze the entire account, and demand documented proof of direct ownership for every single domain referenced in the email payload. Because Alex is an affiliate marketer who does not own the final destination networks, he cannot provide this proof, and his account will be permanently terminated. If your entire revenue strategy relies on pushing external affiliate offers, masking tracking uniform resource locators, or aggressively churning through cold consumer data without a verifiable, highly documented opt-in trail, Zoho is functionally useless to you. The platform is structurally engineered to protect legitimate, relationship-based businesses, and it actively weaponizes its compliance department to aggressively purge anyone who deviates from that specific operational profile. Therefore, the final definitive verdict on this massive software migration comes down to a fundamental question of your specific corporate identity. If you are operating a highly transactional, low-margin business that treats email addresses as disposable commodities, you should absolutely maintain your current legacy infrastructure. The intense regulatory scrutiny, the strict domain alignment protocols, and the inherently complex learning curve of the Zoho templating language will completely paralyze your daily operations. However, if you are a business-to-business service provider, an enterprise software company, a high-ticket consulting firm, or a premium e-commerce brand that deeply understands that true generational wealth is built through long-term customer lifecycle management, then migrating to this unified ecosystem is potentially the most lucrative operational decision you can make in the modern digital economy. The initial transition period is undeniably brutal. You will be forced to meticulously audit years of fragmented data. You will have to ruthlessly purge your unengaged vanity metrics. You will have to fundamentally rewrite your behavioral automation logic. And you will likely experience a terrifying temporary compliance suspension as the algorithms verify your legitimacy. But once you successfully navigate that rigorous initiation gauntlet, you emerge with a completely proprietary, highly secure, deeply integrated marketing engine that your competitors simply cannot replicate. You gain the absolute power to dynamically render hyper-personalized, text-based communications based on real-time sales pipeline data, without triggering a massive server collapse. You achieve unparalleled primary inbox placement because you are protected by an uncompromising corporate compliance shield that actively bans spammers from your shared internet protocol neighborhood. Most importantly, you completely eliminate the catastrophic operational fragility of relying on third-party integration tools to hold your core revenue systems together. We survived the absolute worst of the technical hurdles, we rebuilt our entire company architecture from the ground up, and the potential outcomes we are currently projecting based on our newly stabilized, hyper-efficient infrastructure point toward our most profitable fiscal year on record. We had successfully mastered the internal mechanics of our outbound communication, but we quickly realized that to truly dominate our market sector in 2026, we needed to take all of this pristine, newly organized customer relationship management data and feed it directly back into the massive artificial intelligence algorithms dictating our paid advertising costs. When we finally figured out how to securely transmit our offline Zoho conversion data directly into the Meta Advertising Manager without relying on browser pixels, the resulting drop in our cost per acquisition was so mathematically shocking that it forced us to completely rewrite our entire paid media strategy, a highly technical, completely undocumented architectural maneuver that I am going to meticulously break down for you step by step in our next deep dive session.